All right, folks, welcome again to the Crimson Chronicles podcast. I'm Rick Morton. We are excited again. We're in the middle of our second season here. We're focusing on basketball. We're right in the middle of basketball season. We're having a lot of fun watching this year's edition of the Crimson Tide as they make their way through SEC play. But tonight we want to do what we do every time we get together, which is we want to reach back into the past, and we want to talk about some of the glory years that we've had in the past as part of the Crimson Tide basketball program. And so tonight, Tommy, we've got a Crimson Tide legend that's going to spend a little bit of time with us. I'm incredibly excited about this. So why don't you introduce him and let's get rolling.
Well, thank you, Rick. Yeah, we have one of the all-time great Alabama legends, Theodore Roosevelt Dunn III, a great player in the 1970s for Alabama. Came from West End High School in Birmingham, class of 73. He was a two-time high school All-American, state champs in 72, and I actually went to that tournament with my Gadsden High Tigers, watching them play against TR. He was the MVP in the championship game, 37 points, 18 rebounds. He had an 84-12 record at West End, three-time All-State. And then he signed with Alabama, which we'll get into in detail in a little while. He was a freshman All-American in 73-74, All-Rookie team, the captain of the team in 76, made All-SEC in 77, 1,247 career points, 11.2 per game average, 740 career rebounds, 6.7 rebounds average per game in his Alabama career. Started 105 consecutive games. Drafted 41st overall in the second round by Portland in 1977. Made the NBA all-defensive team in 83, 84, and 85. Played for Portland, Denver, and Phoenix over a long career. Retired in 1991 with 5,033 career points and 4,371 career rebounds. TR, it's great to have you on Crimson Chronicles.
It's my pleasure, guys.
Well, let me get started. Tell us about growing up in Birmingham. Did you play other sports? If so, when did you decide to make basketball your top priority?
Well, I was much like just about every kid in my neighborhood. We played everything. I mean, we played basketball, obviously, football, baseball, and I played, baseball. I played on a Little League team in nearby community programs. And, football, only played street football until I got there. I did play 1 year. I went to high school with expectation on playing football, but I had from my 8th grade to my 9th grade, I had a growth spurt. I was one of the shortest kids, and then I became one of the tallest kids. And I guess it was osteoid slaughters or something in my knees. I mean, it was very tender. And I used to wear, when I freshman sophomore year, I used to wear these big, thick pads over my knees.
Wow.
So I was a little bit afraid of playing football because of that. But my junior year, we had a really good football team. A bunch of guys got hurt. We was in the state playoffs. I practiced with the team for that week and played with them in the state playoffs.
Wow.
My junior year, but my senior year, my varsity coach wanted me to play, but my head basketball coach said no. So I did play. And then my first year in high school, I played some baseball too. But it all came down to basketball over a period of time. It was my greatest love, obviously. And, the rest is what it is,
Yeah. Well, like I mentioned, when you played at West End, you were a year ahead of me. And I remember getting out of school at Gadsden High when I was a sophomore and taking buses down to then Memorial Coliseum and watching you play my Gadsden High Tigers. And your cousin Daryl Dunn and Mike Dunn were on the Gadsden teams, although Daryl had already finished then. But what a great time. And watching you, and I'm thinking, we got to get this guy. We as in Alabama, because I was an Alabama fan. And so tell us about those high school days at West End and your state championship season in 72.
I had a great time. I mean, golly, I didn't know when I was younger, elementary, that I was going to go to West End. Kids in my community went to Parker prior to integration. I'm dating myself age-wise now, but
I know how old you are.
we were going to Parker, but it came that time right a year before my graduation. We were zoned right across, and West End was only 3 blocks from me, walking blocks. But I still wanted to go to Parker at the time. This was prior to going to West End. I told my mom that's what I wanted to do. And my mom was like, "Boy, you think I'm going to pay to bus you across town and you can walk to school? That's not happening." So I'm at West End. All my neighborhood friends, we're all there. Guys that I grew up with and I knew. And we like I said, we played everything. We tried to play everything. And as I mentioned, I was playing basketball, and I didn't play football initially because of my growth and spurt and everything. Right. So if you didn't play football, you had to run cross country. That was our coach. You had no choice. You had to do it. So I ran cross country for 4 years.
Wow.
I wasn't any good at it. I mean, it did help me conditioning wise. Strange as it may be, we had one of my teammates end up being extremely good. He was winning the tournaments. I mean, he it was a talent that it was just accidentally found out because he didn't run track. We put on the team. He was put on the team. He ended up being extremely good long distance runner. He ended up getting a scholarship, track scholarship. But it was a found talent because we were forced to run cross country, and we had to run in the events. We had to practice with the team. We had to run in the event. We had to do all that stuff. And like I said, it was a good way. It was a good conditioning program for all of us.
I was going to say, it sounds like your coach was pretty sharp. If he devised that to be able to get you guys to start conditioning that much early, that's a pretty good strategy,
it's like, I don't know if it was a planned strategy or it just happened that way, but that's the way it was. And because of it, I would run all the time. I mean, even when I got to college and then when I got in the NBA, I would use that to train in the off season because I would run all the time. I mean, I would make time to do that to get my conditioning. Yeah.
And tell me about that state championship in '72.
Well, I remember my freshman year. I'm gonna build up to that. My freshman year, I was on our B team, and we had I think we had the best B team in the city. I don't know if we lost the game. If we did, maybe won. But when our B team season was over, I got moved up to the varsity. And then I remember we lost to Parker High School at Fair Park Arena, and I played in that game, and I was a freshman. Alan Murphy was on that team.
Oh my goodness!
You remember Alan?
Yeah, went to Louisville. Yeah.
Yes,
that's one we missed out on.
That's one we missed out on. He was a good person. He was a good guy, and it was an outstanding basketball player. But we had a good year. My next year, we were a really good team. I think we only lost 4 or 5 games. 2 of them, I think we lost 4 games, I believe. I think we lost 2 to Parker and 2 to Shays Valley.
Wow.
And Parker won the state championship that year. We beat Parker one of those one time, and we beat Shays Valley 2 times. And they played each other in the finals that year.
Oh, wow.
But we were right there. We wasn't able to cross that line yet, but we were right there. That was my sophomore year. Yeah. My junior year, Allen graduated, so Parker was without that star. But it was other players in the city who was really good. But that was the year we were really good too. We lost only 1 game that year. We won 17 in a row. We lost 1, and then we won 17 more, which included the championship game. And a couple of interesting things about that year. The team that beat us was Glenn High School, Anthony Murray's team.
Yeah.
Anthony Murray was on that team, and they beat us. And we beat Leon Douglas' team that year, and I think Leon's team only lost one game that year. We beat them at Stanford College in a big game. They came up to play us. Leon was on the team. I think Osley was on that team. Not he was a younger kid on that team, I believe. And Leon's brother, John, who played in the NBA, was on that team.
Wow.
We beat them, and then in the finals, Leon's team beat Anthony's team for the championship in the finals that year. And in Tuscaloosa, we beat Hayes High School for the final.
Okay.
But we did play in the championship round. I think the first round, second round. Because the first round we beat Montgomery. Second round we played we played Glenn High School. Gaston High School with Mike. My cousin Darrell had gone.
Right.
Mike was still there. Ricky Brown was there.
Yeah.
Ricky was their best player. He's an excellent, great player too. Was the time I had met them that year because we played them earlier in the year at the Gaston tournament, which we won. That's when I met. But then now it's the end of the season in the championship year, in the championship tournament. We played them in the second round, and we beat them in a close one. But prior to playing Hayes and win the championship.
Well, during your time at West End, just an hour down the road here in Tuscaloosa, Coach C.M. Newton was building quite a powerhouse, bolstered by the first black players that he was signing. Wendell Hudson was the first, followed by Raymond Odoms and Charles Cleveland and Leon Douglas. And in your class came Ricky Brown, my classmate from Gadsden, was a year ahead of me, and Booney Russell, who was a junior college transfer. Were there any reservations about considering Alabama to continue your basketball career?
Well, obviously Alabama had pretty much the upper hand, but I nearly signed with North Carolina.
Yeah.
I obviously had quite a few offers from around the country, but I only made 3-4 visits. I went to North Carolina for a visit. I went to LSU for a visit, and I went to Kentucky for a visit.
Wow.
On-campus visit. And all of them was impressive, but, Alabama was home. Alabama was where my mom wanted me to go, even though she didn't say it verbally. I just knew, and when Alabama, the year before I went, Leon was there, signed there. I didn't know him personally, but I had played against him. And, it's sort of like, all right, I know a few people that's down there, I didn't know, I would follow Alabama, on the radio. Sometimes the games were being played. I can't recall watching them on TV. Maybe I did at some point, but I know I listened to some games because like I said, when I was younger, Parker was where I wanted to go, and I knew of Wendell Hudson. Didn't know him personally, but I knew his name. I knew who he was, where he was from. He was from Birmingham. So I would follow them, and he was a great player there. And so I knew he was there. Leon now was there. I knew of Charles Cleveland by name because Charles had a big reputation in the state. And I can remember my father when I was, I think I was a sophomore or junior in college, took me to Phillips High School and watched Charles Cleveland play. I think they played Phillips. I don't know if it was a tournament or something, but they played there, and he was there. And I was like, man, this dude, had a grown man body in high school.
Yeah.
And and he was shooting the ball from half court, and I was like, man, this, he's special. And I saw him play, and again, I didn't know him personally, but I knew from these guys from afar. And even though when I went to visit these schools and I met some guys, I ended up knowing them later. But at the time I met them for the first time there. I met guys at LSU that I ended up knowing later and later date, I ended up coaching one of the guys that was down there, son in the NBA during the time. He was my host when I went there. But then, Kentucky, obviously, I knew the name of those guys because they were, their program was, they were one of the top programs. And so their players' name was always out there. North Carolina was the same way. I remember meeting George Call and Kupchak and those guys when I was up there on my visit.
So, TR, what was the recruitment process like? And especially, we just recently, a couple of weeks ago, had Wimp Sanderson on the show, and everybody knows Wimp. What was it like being recruited by Wimp Sanderson?
Oh man, it was looking back on it, it was interesting. It was fun. It was exciting. When, a young kid growing up and getting all that attention for the first time. Well, not for the first time because you get attention in high school if you have your team is really good and you're one of the top players. Sometimes you get probably attention you probably don't deserve, but you get attention. And but being recruited, it's like, wow, man. Initially, it was all exciting because you got all these guys around all the time. Every day looked like, over time it started getting like, man, it started wearing you after a while. But initially, it was exciting and it was fun. All the coaches obviously was try to be informative and express upon you that how much they wanted you to attend their universities and, what they thought you could do in the program for yourself and for the program, So, it was just fun, exciting. Wimp's a different breed, man. He was like, he was there all the time, seems like, but it was cool. It was good.
There was a funny experience you had on signing day, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, I mean, you go through this process of recruiting. I was recruiting more than my, early in my junior South. I was being touched early on, but obviously the heaviest part of recruitment coming your senior year. So you're recruiting, you've been recruited and visiting, and now when you come to a conclusion where you think you're ready to go and put your name on the line and commit and all, and we were ready to do that, and nobody had a pen. So I forget where we got the pen from. I went to the next door neighbor or something. I don't remember. I don't remember, but we finally got one, and I obviously signed with the university.
Yeah. Well, okay. You started as a freshman at Alabama in 73-74, and you were a part of the SEC's first ever all-black starting five. You, Leon Douglas, Booney Russell, Charles Cleveland, and Raymond Odoms. Coming in, did you expect to be a starter? And how was that transition between high school and college?
Well, obviously, you expect it to be a transition. You're going up a level, and so you expect that. I think that I was like just about any player who ever played. You always have confidence in yourself. You think that whether you are or you're not, you think that you're going to be good enough to make that jump, and you're good enough to compete with everybody. I know CM never promised me anything. He would say to me, I'm not promising you can start with us, but if you're not starting, then we're going to be darn good. And so from that, I mean, I just took it that, you earn your spot. And I don't have a problem with that. I never did. I wouldn't promise anything when I went to high school. But I think all athletes feel this way. I just put me on the even playing field, and I earn my keep, and I guess that's how I always thought.
Well, T, I was a student in Alabama from 74 to 78, so I was a year behind you. So I saw you play every home game. I can promise you that. Your 4-year record at Alabama was 92 wins and 20 losses with an amazing 59-13 SEC record. Your teams won the SEC regular season championship your freshman, sophomore, and junior years. And I know you have memories from many games, but the 75-76 squad, your junior year, may have been the best Alabama team in history. Here are some facts about that team. The starters were you, Anthony Murray, Ricky Brown, Reginald Mule King, and Leon Douglas, who was the only senior. Top reserves were Keith McCord and Greg McKelvin, and Greg was a freshman and actually a fraternity brother of mine. Y'all finished 22-4 that year, 15-3 in the SEC, and finished number 6 in the final poll. There are 3 particular games that I wanted you to talk about, if you can remember them. It's only been 50 years or so, but I will say the 93-90 double overtime win over Tennessee in Tuscaloosa. Now, as a student, I camped out on the back loading dock of what's now Coleman Coliseum to get the best seats for that game. So I was in Section Q mid-court for that whole game, and it was an unbelievable barn burner. And, of course, Tennessee had the Ernie and Bernie show with Ernie Grunfeld and Bernard King. What do you remember about that 93-90 double overtime victory over Tennessee?
Whoa, I can't remember many of the specifics. I just know it was a really, really good, hard-fought game. I remember you mentioned earlier about I played in a number of consecutive games, 100 and whatever it was. That probably was one game I probably shouldn't have started in. I wasn't 100% in that game, but I didn't want to. I did not want to not play.
Yeah,
and I had a hamstring pull, and I was trying to play. Coaches, if I remember he asking me, "Are you going to be okay?" And I'm saying, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm like players do." But I don't know if I helped the team that game or hurt the team. Luckily, we won the game.
Yeah.
I know Ricky Brown, Leon, Red, those guys had great games. What's the guard? Obviously Ernie Grunfeld and Ernie and Bernie played well. They always did. But
Mike Jackson.
Mike Jackson played well for them too. That game.
Ricky Brown had 26 points. Leon and Reginald Mule King each had 18, and even Greg McKelvin scored 12 off the bench.
Yeah.
And
I remember. I thought Ricky had a big game. I remember.
You were right. 26 points, and that was an awesome game.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Here's another one that year in the NCAA tournament when you beat North Carolina in Dayton, Ohio. Because we had won the SEC, we got an automatic bid. Back then. But the unfortunate thing is we had to play North Carolina. So tell us about that game. It was a 79-64 win over Mitch Kupchak in North Carolina.
Yeah, Leon was unbelievable that game. But I can remember what I do recall CM trying to impress upon us that we couldn't get behind in that game.
Yeah.
Not get behind that game because, they would feel forward. They would run 4 corners. They would, they would control the tempo of the game. They score if they get the ball and you're behind. We cannot get behind in this game. That was the one thing I can remember about that game to this day. And fortunately for us, we were able to jump on them at the start, and we got a pretty good lead on them and maintain that throughout the game. Leon was good. I think Anthony did a great job on field forward. We kind of held Walter a little bit down under his average. Leon was terrific offensively. So we kind of got it done. It was a big win for the program at that time. North Carolina was one of the nationally known teams and program. And again, I nearly signed with it. I would have been on that team.
We're glad you weren't. Leon ended up
it worked the other way. But I end up knowing those guys. Those starters for them, all of them played in the NBA. Phil Ford, John Kuester, Walter Davis, Tom Lagarde, and Mitch Kupchak.
Yeah. Leon ended up with 35 points and 17 rebounds. And and Ant Murray scored 13 and shut down Phil Ford.
Yep.
In that game.
I remember Anthony did a great job on him.
Yeah.
And we kind of kept him at bay and won that game.
And I hate to bring up losses, but we had to go to Baton Rouge and play Indiana and Bobby Knight. Yeah. And unfortunately lost a very close game, 75-69, went down to the wire. What do you remember about that game?
Well, I remember we got a slow start in that game, and then we fought our way back. Obviously, when you're in college, when you're in college and you play in other teams, obviously, if you don't know those players personally, you know them by reputation. So we knew who we were playing. We knew the talent of those guys, and at that point in the year they were undefeated, and we knew all of that. They were favorites and all of that too. But we had a very competitive team. We were competitive with each other, and when we played other teams, we were competitive against opponents, and we fought back. I can't remember. I think within the 3-minute mark, we might have had the lead on them for a point or two. But then they end up getting it back and end up beating us by 3 to 5 points, something like that. But we competed. Obviously, it wasn't any. It wasn't. It didn't feel good to be close and not win. We lost. So, but. We didn't need that game to feel like we belonged. We thought we belonged anyway. And had we been in a different bracket than them, we might have met them in the final.
Yeah. Wow.
But it is what it is. They're a great team. They're a great coach, Coach Knight. Coach Knight even came in our locker room afterwards.
Wow. I've heard that. Yeah.
To say that, no, I'm not slighting my team, but I'm not sure the best team won tonight.
Wow.
We were right there with them.
Yeah, we had a 1-point lead with 3:58 to go.
Yeah, I knew it was something like that. Yeah. We were close with something after we were down early. Is that right, or is that wrong?
You were down. Okay. We were down as many as 12 in the second half, and went to take the lead with a little under 4 minutes to go, and ended up losing. But even today, almost 50 years later, Alabama basketball fans still talk about that team and that game, and it's amazing that we can still remember that far back. But it was, I know the campus was sure proud of y'all for that, and what a great season.
Part of it, I'm sure part of it is that not that we were good and we competed, but that was the team. That team, Indiana, was undefeated. Nobody beat them, and we were right there on the cusp of beating them. Wow. And we just weren't able to get it done. And, hats off to them. But,
and there still has not been an undefeated team since then.
Yeah,
I think they were 31-0, something like that, and there still hasn't been one since then.
Let's show you how hard that is.
So, TR, we move on to your senior season, the 76-77 season. You guys had another just really solid year, 25-6, 14-4 in the SEC. Following your senior season, as we said earlier, you were drafted into the NBA in the second round by the Portland Trail Blazers. You talked about the transition from high school to college and, playing with these guys that you knew from different teams and, the level of competition going up. What was it like to move from the upper echelon of college basketball into the NBA?
Well, it was obviously it was a jump too. It's a step up. You're stepping up, like you're stepping up to a league where it's a limited number of players in the league at that time. It was just 21 team, 21, 22 team, and only 12 players on the team.
Wow. Yeah.
And so it was a very elite group. I can recall going to work out. I'd flown into Portland. This was after the summer league. Initially we all go to summer league and come up for workouts for the summer league, but now I was back home, and then right before the actual fall camp, we flew up. Now the veterans there, and it's a couple of us. Yeah, Ricky Brown there too. Ricky got drafted by Portland as well. We're there in a local gym somewhere. I can't remember where, but you go in and we're gonna just sprint. Just on your own. It's a voluntary scrimmage.
Volunteer workout.
And I'm looking at these guys, man. You got guys there like 29, 30, 31. I'm thinking to myself, man, these old guys, what they doing still out here trying to play basketball? This is what I'm thinking in my head. Like that dude can't play. I mean, come on, man, give me a break. But you find out very quickly that these guys can really, really play. Obviously, these guys are the best of what that were coming out of college. If you pick all the better players that was in the colleges around the country and even abroad, these are the guys. And so, I mean, it was an eye-opening experience in scrimmaging against those guys for the first time, man. It was crazy.
It's a whole different world when it's your job, right? As opposed to
when it's your job, and they expect you're professional now, and you have to act accordingly. And I remember prior to getting there, if there was no texts or email or anything like that, I got a letter from the Portland Trailblazers saying, "Hey, first day of training camp, we got to run the mile in a certain amount of time. Guards run it in this time, big guys run it in this time." And so the very first day, we were running a mile in a certain amount of time.
That cross-country background came in handy, didn't
it? There you go. Hey, man, it was obviously when you run it, you trying to get your best time. It ain't easy. I mean, obviously we got it done. Most of us, it was one or two guys who, it just, they come in, and I say one or two. When it's one or two, it's more guys who are veterans there. I ain't worried about being cut, But I'm a young guy. I'm a rookie, second round pick. I'm going to a team that had just won the NBA championship, and ain't many spots left on that team. And I wasn't that first player taken. I was the third player they took. They took a player in the first round. They took a player in the second round ahead of me, and I came 42nd in the second round.
Wow!
And you spent you spent 14 years in the league as a player, and I didn't even mention when we introduced you that you had 25 years as a coach in the NBA and the WNBA. But you were with Portland from 77 to 80. You were with Denver from 80 to 88, and then back in 89 to 91 with Denver, and then you were that 1 year in between, you were in Phoenix for a year, and you retired in 1991, 5,033 career points, 4,371 career rebounds. But your claim to fame throughout your career was your defensive and rebounding abilities. You made the NBA's all-defensive team in 1982, 83, 83, 84, and 84, 85 in what I call the golden age of NBA basketball. What was your secret to be such a good defensive player and a good rebounder?
I foul a lot. I mean, I don't know. I think I don't know who told me this, that, we're given certain gifts. I mean, you can, offensive players, they have a certain eye-hand coordination. They had an innate ability to instinctively do things, to get open or beat their man or do it. I believe, as a defensive player, obviously you have to have certain things. You have to be, you have to have some kind of quickness, anticipation, a little bit of toughness, and not afraid to try things. Because and then you have to work really, really hard, and you have to believe that you can do certain things, whether you can actually accomplish them or not on each possession. You have to believe that you can do it. And in other words, I think, like, for instance, you have a lot of players, a lot of good shooters. You can take them, and they can practice, work, shoot every day, every night, and they won't ever become Steph Curry, ever. Even though they can practice on it, and they'll get better, but they can't get there. So he was born with something he had coming in. So you have a certain gift, and you get to play on the defensive side. You can work with guys. They can train, strength training, foot speed, all of that, gifted, and and try to give them certain knowledge and anticipation, and they won't ever be like the defensive player that Kawhi Leonard was when he was healthy. You just won't.
Yeah.
They can get better, but they won't get to that limit. So everybody has a gift. You kind of hope you can find it, and I guess the little bit of gift I had was on the defensive end. Now, offensively, you have to be able to. You don't have to be a big scorer, but you have to be able to, be sufficient, to play, for them to put you out there. And then you show your worth on the other end. And, you make what you on person, you have to win over the team. You got to win over the coach. You got to make that coach believe that I need to have this guy on the floor.
Yeah.
So.
Well,
that's it.
And TR, I'm a little bit younger than you guys, and so I'll admit it was in later years when I went back and really understood about your career at Alabama. I became aware of you as a player in the pros, and one of the things that and later in life, this kind of all made sense to me, but there are some theories out there that talk about the different ways that people can be smart, the different ways that people can be intelligent, and one of those is being spatially smart, like understanding objects in space and angles and that sort of thing. And I just remember from watching you, you're a guy who put yourself in the right place a lot, and it seemed like that you had an innate understanding of where you needed to be in order to rebound the ball, where you needed to be in order to anticipate a move by somebody you were trying to defend. Was that just something that did that come naturally? How did you work on that? Was it just a gift, or did you work hard to get that?
No, I think you acquire what you're saying is exactly correct. Um, I think the more you play, you acquire certain things, instinctive.
Mm-hmm.
You start to, some of the things you try to do become instinctive. You have to you keep doing them and doing it, and then the more you play, you see things. You see, if I try to this against certain players, it's not going to have a good response. But if I do this, maybe it will.
Mm-hmm.
And over time, you kind of learn. Okay, I can do this. I can. And back when I played, the game was more physical. You can use your hands. Obviously, over time, I'm sure, and over time, myself and players like me, if we played in a different era, we would adapt to that era.
Mm-hmm.
But in my era, you could hand check. But at the same time, an offensive player could knock your hand off.
Right.
Too. So it was a give and take. But you do, like you're saying, when I go into a game, I know you had 6 fouls, and when I'm playing a player and I'm guarding a player in one-on-one, and If I get in a bad position, I know how many fouls I got. I'm getting in a bad position. Sometimes I would just go ahead and foul it, stop the play. They would just take the ball out. It wasn't a free throw or nothing. Sometimes when I tried to get risky, make a gamble, if I wasn't in foul trouble, they wasn't in the penalty, I would go for a steal sometimes just to see if I didn't get it, I would just grab it. For the foul, I got out of position, but they didn't get anything. They just took the ball out of bounds. Things like that. I hate to say this one. I'm gonna tell you, this is the truth, though. My guy, I'm at a disadvantage. Say it's a 3 or 2-on-1, and I can't stop the play. The guy that I was assigned to, he's not going to shoot the ball finally. I'm going to make the other guy shoot the ball because my guy's not going to get an extra point that game.
Right.
Stuff like that you would be thinking, okay, and if I could stop the play with a foul, I would go ahead and foul. But if my guy, the guy that I'm guarding, he's a big scorer, and my other guy, I'm going to make sure I'm going to go to my guy at the end of the play and make him throw it to the other guy, hit the layup. I'm not going to do it the other way around.
Right.
Stuff like that.
Right.
I mean, I would think of, and again, when you guard a really good player, you can't really stop a really good offensive player. You try to limit them, and that's what I would try to do. A lot of times, I would try to overplay my guy prior to him catching the ball. If he catches the ball 20 times a game, maybe if I can make him catch it 17 times a game, that's a few stops right there. And then once I'm guarding him, I try to be physical, get into his space. And then you learn guys. You learn about guys that way. I know that, you play some guys you can be real physical with, and it would affect them. They couldn't they needed space. They needed to be able to catch the ball when they're open so they can go ahead and they make their shot before you get there. As long as I can get in their space, prior to them setting up to shoot the ball, I was good. But and obviously you limit them that way. But then those are special guys. They didn't care. They just need the ball in their hand. They can score no matter what you did. So those were the tougher guys for me. The guys that can maneuver when they got the ball. But there's a lot of really good shooters. Now, I'm not naming any, but a lot of really good shooters. Yep. If you're in their space when they caught the ball, you could board them out.
Well, Tommy said, and I agree with him, the years that you played in the NBA, particularly through the 80s, that was sort of the zenith, I think, of NBA basketball. I mean, the talent that existed in the league at that time, and you got to play against so many all-time greats, got to play with a number of all-time greats. I just want to play a speed round with you here and just go kind of, I'll throw a name out and you give me like what's the biggest thought or the biggest thing that you would say about that player. So here we go. Let's go first. Larry Bird.
Unbelievable. Outstanding shooter, rebounder, and incredible knowledge about the game, how to play.
Also heard he's an incredible trash talker.
Big time trash talker.
All right. How about Kareem?
Another all-time great. When I came in the league, he obviously he had won a championship in Milwaukee prior to getting to LA, and he's unstoppable. Unstoppable hook shot. I don't care what you did, how you played him. If he could get his hand on the ball, 10, 15 in, nothing you can do other than run 2 or 3 people out and make him throw it out if you can get to him soon enough. But he was incredible, all-time, one of the all-time greats.
So one of the guys he threw it out to a lot. How about Magic?
Special, magical. I would say that. Magical. Meant so much for the league, not just his play, but his charisma. Could play every position. The guy was, from his rookie year to the year he left the league, he had an impact. He was just special, magical. I call him magical because he's magical.
All right. So one of the tough guys that I'm sure you had some battles with. How about Moses Malone?
Well, I played against Moses, but obviously we're in a different position, and
right.
I'm thankful for that. Well, a machine, a rebounding machine, scoring, rebounding, relentless, talented player. Moses was one of the special ones as well.
All right, let's. How about Neek?
Dominique.
Yeah.
Dominique. Exciting. He was what they call him. I would call he was a highlight machine, the human highlight machine.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible athlete. Could score. He brought excitement to the game, to his team. He was just a special player. Really, really a special player.
So we've got to give an Auburn guy's due. How about Barkley?
One of a kind. One of a kind.
Thank goodness.
Right? You're not going to find many like Charles, man. Charles is special. Incredible basketball player. I mean, no one would think this guy was 6'4" or 5", fat guy coming out of Auburn back in the early '80s, that to be able to do what he's done. But Charles is one of a kind. I mean, he is a good guy. He really is a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's Charles is Charles. Now he gonna do things his way, which is okay. And in the league, he is amongst the greatest in the league as well. I mean, he came in. At his size, to be able to do the things that he was able to do was incredible.
So I saved the best three, the last three, maybe the best three. First of all, how about Bill Walton?
Bill was. I think it was my year. That year, if it wasn't that year, the year before I got there, Bill was the MVP of the league. Mm-hmm. He was MVP of the NBA. Bill, prior to Bill getting hurt, my first first 60 games, he was untouchable. He's the best player in the league. He rebound, could pass, could score. He understood the game. He could do everything. And my first year, my rookie year, like I said, prior to coming to Portland, they won the NBA championship. They were the champ. We were the champ. My rookie year, we were the champ. In my first 60 games, we were 50-10.
Wow.
We had the best record in the NBA.
Wow.
Prior to him getting hurt.
Yeah.
Now, he wasn't the only one of our team that got hurt. His backup, the first big man off the bench, Lloyd Neal, he got hurt first. Then Bill got hurt. Now we really depleted as far as big people at that time. We hung on to end up having the best record in the league. But barely. Philly almost caught us. And we end up losing in the playoff to Seattle, who end up playing the Washington team in the finals. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you remember that. Mm-hmm. Seattle and Washington played in the finals 2 years consecutively. Mm-hmm. That was the 77, 78, 78, 79. First year, Washington won. You remember Dick Martin ain't over to the fat lady saying that Washington beat them in the finals. And then the following year, Seattle, Washington again. Seattle beat Washington in the finals. But in that first year, we lost to Seattle in the second round. We were just depleted. We couldn't maintain it. They had a really good team, and we were down some really good big people.
What an incredible time!
Bill Walton was our leader. He was the best player when he was healthy. Like I said, I believe it was that year. I have to double check that, but either if it's that year, or it might have been the year before where he was the MVP of the league. Bill Walton was special. He was good, really, really good. And being saying good is an understatement.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, two more. First one, how about Dr. J?
The doctor was the doctor. The doctor was, he's an all-time great as well. one of the best that ever played in the ABA, and obviously one of the best to play in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
Doctor came over. He was came over with I don't know which team he came over with. Who he was traded to fill. I don't know how he got what team he was. New Jersey or came over.
New Jersey. Yeah, it was with
Okay.
it was with New Jersey before he came over to Philly.
You know, he was a special talent that wasn't in the NBA. And the ABA had a lot of special players.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously Doc was at the top of the heap. And when he came over, you know, he just solidified what he was. I mean, he was special there, and he was special in NBA as well. I got the chance to meet Doc early on in my career. Special guy, exceptional talent.
That's awesome. And then, you know, arguably, the argument goes on between guys of our age and our vintage and you know, kids now, but Michael Jordan.
Well, I come up in that era. I come up in the era past, and I'm not sliding this era because they have great players. But he's one of the GOATs in my era. I mean, you know, he's one of the greatest of all time. He's special. His resume speaks for itself. I mean, I defended a lot of players, but he's one of a kind. I mean, some of the guys like him, David Thompson, George Gervin, and many more. But those were the guys that's not much you can do.
Yep.
Other than hope you get a lot of help.
Well, you got
George
him your
Gervin
rookie year. I know that. You got him your rookie year, didn't you?
Yeah, in the first game, not the second game, but in the first game, you know, we were able to kind of hold them at bay a little bit. You know, like I said, you got to use them all. Make sure you use all your fouls up. You got to pick 5 of them at least.
Yeah,
kind of keep them at bay and stuff like that. But he obviously, I mean, I'm not saying anything that all of us don't already know. He's at the top of the heap.
Yeah.
Of great players.
Now, TR, once your playing career was over, you, as Tommy said earlier, you transitioned into a career in coaching, a really long and successful career, both in the NBA and the WNBA. As you transitioned into coaching, the NBA was also in a bit of a transformation in the style of basketball that was being played. What was it? You know, what changed from your years as a player to then who you coached and the kind of ball that you coached as an NBA coach?
Well, the game it's like the sport is like all sports. It's going to transition at some point. That's happened. Football, baseball, all the sports, basketball, it changed. You know, it was when I was in the league. It was very physical league, and some teams use that to their advantage. And over time, the league tried to adjust, make it more fan-friendly as sports. Like everybody, for a coach, you're just concerned about winning the game. For the league, they're more concerned about who's watching, the numbers.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so, so the more numbers on the board seem like the more people watching. The higher the scores, the more fun it is. So, you know, the league adjusted some with the rules, the hands checking, the physical play and things like that changed. And so it sort of in a way aided offensively, which the numbers it goes up. But you know, our defensive-minded coaches and defensive, they'll find a way to adjust to try to figure out, okay, there was an adjustment made here. We need to try to figure out what we can do to kind of still, you know, have a way to to benefit us on the defensive end. So it has evolved. I mean, you look at the league now, the scoring. You know, it's more the statistic oriented things looked at now than back then. Back then, there were stats. Obviously, you had stats, but not at the extent that it is today.
Sure.
You know, there were stats, but then there was the eyeball test.
Right.
So, but now, and it generally weighted more on the eyeball test than the statistical analyst. Now, I don't know, it's more in the middle or more on the statistical part.
Sometimes the stats guys right there over the shoulder, you know, helping to make the calls, right? Like it's a different world today.
Yeah, but it's I think both are important. You know, yeah, you want to see the numbers. You want to see the numbers, but a lot of times don't disavow what you see with your own eyes too, because you know it's not a perfect science either way.
Kind of along that same line, I just want to ask you one other thing about coaching and particularly about the WNBA. And I'll set this up. I was in Indiana in this summer when the Fever were in town, and I happened to be in a hotel that was right across the street from the arena. Man, I've never, like, it looked like it was a night for a Pacers game. The number of people that were there, the crowd that was around, just the explosion that's happened this year with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, and you know, and then you have several classes of players that have come in. I mean, we've seen the WNBA explode. My dear friend Kay James, you know, that coached at Southern Miss and then coached in the early days in the WNBA. I've talked to Kay about what it was like in those early years to be a part of a startup league. Compared to your experience coaching in the WNBA to what you're seeing today, what do you think about that?
Well, the league has progressed obviously from back in the 2000, early 2000. It has progressed greatly. The players, I mean, the training for the players is different. It's just like with the men. The training, that's the part that the development of players. I remember I recall there was only a few girls, young women
Sure.
at that time who was good, really shooting off the dribble, like really fast pull-ups. A lot of them was good set shooters.
Right.
But now they shoot like the men. They come off the move, catch and shoot, driving the lane, floater. They do everything, and that's because of the training that they do over the years and the development. I'm sure they have the same training and development as like the young men do, where they can do certain things off the bounce. Now, obviously, their disadvantage is the size and the strength of a young woman as opposed to a young man. You may have one or two young ladies that can dunk the basketball and stuff, but that's, you know, you might have entire teams in NBA dunking basketball, you know, and stuff like that. So that's something that's different. But I tell you what, you put a young lady on the free throw line versus a young lady versus the men at free throw line, then you might get you an even draw. You might even end up losing. So, you know, when they're stationary, I mean, it just shows the progress of the women's league. They have done a tremendous job as a league and as individual developing themselves and the league itself. So it has changed greatly. Yeah.
TR, I mentioned a 25-year coaching career after you played for so long. You were with the Charlotte Hornets, Denver Nuggets, then in the NBA with the Charlotte Sting. back to the Denver Nuggets, Sacramento Kings, Houston Rockets, Minnesota Timberwolves, back to the Houston Rockets. But squeezed in there in 2001-2 season, you were an assistant coach for Mark Gottfried at the University of Alabama. And I know it was great to see you come back for that 1 year. You helped coach guys like Antoine Petway, Mo Williams, Ernest Shelton, Terrence Mead, Irwin Dudley, Rod Grizzard, and others. What made you want to try college basketball?
I don't know. It was just the timing of it, I guess. Mark had contacted me a couple of years prior to that and asked me about it. And I was like, yeah, I wouldn't. It wasn't anything I frowned upon, because I know that if I ever coached basketball at that time, thinking back, if I ever go coach in college, I would love for it to be at the university. Who wouldn't want to go back to their own school?
Yeah.
And be a part of the program that they were once a part of. So it was a time we had. I've been with the WNBA for a year and a half. Season was over. We were starting a new season. I was in the management part of the WNBA at this point.
Okay.
And Mark gave me a call. It was just the right time, and I was like, you know what, I appreciate that opportunity, and I'd love to try it. It was great. It was the best time I had there with Mark, Coach P, Philip, Coach O,
Pearson, Orlando, yeah.
Boatwright.
Wow.
Man, those guys were special guys. They all were tremendous, and we end up having a really, really, really good team.
Yeah.
You know, we won the SEC. I remember we clinched it. It's ironic how we had a young team too.
Yeah, very young.
Terrence Mead was Terrence Mead a senior on that team? I'm not sure.
I think he had finished the year before. I think.
Well, no, I coached Terrence Mead, so he was there when I was there.
All right, sorry.
He was the two. Yep. I think he might have been the oldest.
You're right. He was there. I'm sorry. He's gonna get me for missing that.
But we clinched the championship versus Florida.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that.
Oh yeah.
And from a play made from Ernest Shelton,
right,
to Antoine Petway.
Yeah, and if you go to an Alabama home game right now, if you go to an Alabama home game, you will see that highlight on the Jumbotron. Still.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It is there.
Oh, man, that was like, I remember, I was like, that clinched the game.
Yep.
By us winning that game, we beat Florida. Florida was kind of tied or right there with them or something like that. But the two freshmen, I mean, tremendous play at the end of a game.
Yeah.
With two freshmen that have the wherewithal to complete that play and win the game.
Yeah. Well, we loved having you, and I know you headed back to the NBA after that. That was a great team, SEC champion, and I got to know all those guys, and I love Orlando and Boatwright and Phillip and all those guys that y'all were coaching with. Your life has been really all basketball, other than a cross-country trek here and there. But what are your favorite memories of your long career in the game as we wrap up here?
Oh, man. So a lot of things come up. You know, and I'm probably going to forget some things, but two of the biggest ones was like my first college game. When I was a freshman.
Yeah.
And you may have to look this up, but I think Ricky Brown and myself, we were the top scorers in that game.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
You might have to look that up and might prove me wrong, but I think I'm correct. But that was That was we played Georgia Tech. We played Georgia Tech, I believe, in Georgia. First
But
game.
if there's anybody that's going to check you, it's going to be Tommy. He's got the
Yeah,
book.
I
He's
want
already
Tommy to
looking.
check that because I don't want to tell somebody else that story and not be right.
November 30th at Georgia Tech, we won 88-64. But I don't have the individual stats.
You'll have a box, but I think
No.
Ricky and I was two of the leading scorers.
Yeah.
I believe. I remember that game. You know, it was my first college game,
Yeah.
man, and it was like
Amazing.
just so. It's like every game, even as a coach, I would, you'd be nervous. People say they ain't. I have butterflies prior to the game. Once you get on the floor and start running, layup line, that it goes away. I'm cool. I'm good. Before the game, though, you nervous because you care about what's going to happen. And I was that way as a coach too. Before the game, I had butterflies, and once we get out there on the court and you guys are running up and down, it's like it's gone. Now you focus on the game. But as a player, that's how I was. Now, and then my first game as an NBA player.
Oh wow.
Playing with Portland again. I can't remember who we played, but I think I had like 7 points in that game. I was like 3 for 3 and 1 for 1. And we won the game. But I know we won because we didn't lose many games my freshman year. It wasn't because of me, but my rookie year in the league, we won a ton of games. But we won that game, a home game. And Jack put me out there in the game in the last, I don't know, it might have been the last 5 or 6, 7 minutes or something like that. Yeah,
awesome.
Wow, what a great career you've had.
Cool.
And, well, tell us what you're doing now. I know you're living in Charlotte, but tell us what you've done since you retired from the NBA coaching.
Well, initially, I'm here. I have grandkids, and I'm with them a lot. Over the last year and a half, I got trying to do something to stay active. I got my real estate license.
Yeah.
And so, I'm involved with that. But I'm just trying to stay close to my grandkids and enjoy my time.
Well, coming from experience, I did the same thing after I retired from the university. I got my real estate license about 4 years ago, and it is hard to teach an old dog new tricks, but I enjoy it, and it's been a great learning experience for me. But well, man, it's been great to have you on, TR. You've brought back so many memories that I've had from the 70s as a student at Alabama, and then what a great NBA career you had.
All right, thanks, Tom. I appreciate it. It's been a fun ride, man. I can't. It's like I've had the best life. I can't complain about anything.
Well,
Rick?
TR, we really appreciate you taking the time. This was an incredible interview. Great to be able to reminisce with you about your career, and just to really consider all the years that you spanned from the 70s in as a college student at the University of Alabama, a prolific NBA career, your time in the league as a coach. There are a whole bunch of us that have followed you for a long time, and so it's fun to sit down and hear it all from your perspective. And we appreciate you taking the time to visit with us. One of the ways we try to end this is we just want to give the folks a hearty roll tide. And so how about as we sign off, you lead us and give us a roll tide.
All right, I'll just say roll tide.
There you go. Roll tide.
Roll tide.
All right.
Hang on.
Great job, TR. Hold on just a second.
All right, I remember you said